Good afternoon, Club 17. We've got a great program today. It's great to see so many people here in the Hall of Mirrors, and I know we have a number of people joining us via Zoom. So welcome to all, and we're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we will have Molly Rydell lead us in our invocation and four-way test.
Thank you, President Brett. We do have a nice crowd here today. It's nice to see so many friendly faces. Good afternoon, everyone. Please join me in prayer. Almighty Father, we thank you for the food that is before us and for our many blessings. We thank you for the privilege of being here today among friends and for the opportunity to share ideas and serve our communities. Today, we also express our gratitude to all the women in our lives, our mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, and friends who share their love so generously and who enrich our lives in so many ways. We appreciate all the accomplishments that women have made in our society, in our communities, and throughout the world. Thank you also for our speaker today, Ms. Marty Betagole with Mike Albert Fleet Management, who has taken the time from her busy schedule to be with us today. May your blessings rest upon all of us, Almighty Father, as we seek to serve in your name. Amen. And now let's recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
We've got a number of guests and visitors today, and I want to take a minute to introduce the people who have joined us as visitors and guests. First of all, Don Catchman is here as a guest of Jim Neidhard. Don, could you stand up? Welcome. And Gary Walton from the Cincinnati Type and Print Museum is here. He's a guest of Dan Long. Gary? Welcome back, Gary. I know you've been here before. And Alice Hochter is here from the City of Cincinnati Police Department. She's a guest of Nancy Reese. Alice. And Dr. Bernie Kasten is here. He's my guest. He's an honorary Rotarian. He's joining us. He's a researcher in cancer and COVID. Welcome, Dr. Kasten. And we've got a few announcements today. First of all, just a reminder, when you finish eating your lunch, if you could put your mask back on. Thank you. And we have some birthdays to celebrate this week. Today, Jim Neidhard and Sue Radabaugh. May 7th, Frank Dawson. May 8th, Sam Scoggins. And May 9th, Chris McConnell. Let's wish them all a happy birthday. And our meeting sponsor today is our very own Rotarian Dave Carlin and his company Go-To Partners. Go-To Partners is a national company headquartered in Chicago with 11 offices located in major markets, including here in Cincinnati. They focus on providing a wide variety of products and services, such as print management, brand promotion, branded uniform and image apparel, digital marketing solutions, and marketing technology software solutions, all to support their clients' marketing and operations teams. A big thanks to Dave Carlin and Go-To Partners for sponsoring today's meeting. All right, now we're going to try the new split the pot again. So I'm going to ask Marty if she would be willing to pull a name out of a hat for us, or basket, I should say. A hat would be good too. Jody DeVoid. Is Jody here? Oh, she is. Okay, Jody. Pick a number between 1 and 39. I'll turn over the corresponding playing card. If it's the Queen of Hearts, the prize today, the rolling pot, is $711. Very lucky number. Pick a number. 13. Ace of Spades. Too bad. So, so you get the daily prize, the weekly prize, which is $30 now, I think. $60 for the weekly? Okay, $60, Jody. And your name goes back in for the rest of the month of May. So, very good. Listen, a thanks to Dan Grunberg. A number of us had a chance to go to the first Rotary After Hours last Friday at Taft's Brewporium. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to Dan as our chair of our Rotary After Hours Committee. And just a reminder, we've got a great professional development series going on this year. The last seminar in the series will be next Thursday, May 13th, right here at the Hilton Netherland. It will also be offered via Zoom. Our very own Terry Dean will be leading that. He'll be covering some of the key insights in his new book, soon to be published, called Exceeding Expectations. It's all about exceeding customer expectations and expectations in sales and in life. Should be a great seminar. It's free. If you'd like to be part of it, contact the Rotary office. It'll be at 10:30 next Thursday, right before the Rotary lunch. So if you're interested, please join, and let the office know if you're going to be joining in person or virtually. Now, we're finally into a season where we get, I think, some decent weather for some outside service projects. No snow, I've been promised, right, Bill? So, Camp Allen, near and dear to all of us. Saturday, May 15th, we're going to have a cleanup day at Camp Allen. There's a deck that needs to be redone, painted. The railing needs to be done. There's a landscape area that needs to be cleaned up and mulched. There's some other things that need to be cleaned up. There might even be some large canopies that we need to put up as well. Should be a fun day. Again, it'll be Saturday, May 15th. Please let Bill Stilley know if you can join. And we are now well into baseball season. On Friday, May 21st, we're having Rotary Reds Night at the Great American Ballpark. We'll be in the center field pavilion. It's a great setup with indoor dining and also an outdoor deck area to sit. For $95, you get a dinner buffet, water, soft drinks, 2 beer tickets, all sorts of great food, hamburgers, hot dogs, bratwurst, you name it. And if you're interested, fill out the form that's an e-raise, return it to the Rotary office by May 14th. Again, that will be Friday night, the 21st is that event. And we've been making a headway already with our Save Local campaign and gift cards on Believe to Achieve silent auction. Great response by the club. This is the perfect time now, between now and July 2nd, to give gifts to the silent auction. And as you know, the Believe to Achieve event will be on August 7th at Brain Brew Distillery in Newtown. There's a whole bunch of things you can give. If you check email, you'll see a lot of suggested donations, things like top shelf liquor and wine, $100 gift cards or certificates to some of the fine restaurants in our city, gift cards to any other kinds of retail shops, framed art and objects of art, spa services, travel packages, vacation homes, a whole bunch of things. And as things begin to open up, there are more events, even like concerts and sporting events, to be attended. So, love to get donations to the silent auction. If you have any questions, Don Keller and Susan Wilkinson are co-chairing that committee. Thanks in advance. And next week, if you've been following the science news, you know that the Perseverance rover has touched down on Mars. That happened in February. We're going to have with us the astronomer from Cincinnati Observatory next week, Dean Regas. Dean is going to join us. He's going to talk about what's going on, not just with the current exploration on Mars, but the other can't-miss places in the universe that come next. So join us next Thursday here at the Hilton for a fun lunch and a great program. And now I'd like to switch gears to today's program. I'd like to invite Melinda Kelly, our club president-elect, very soon to be at the podium all the time. Melinda, good to have you here. Great to have you introduce the next part of our program. Thank you.
Thank you, President Brett. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you our first presenter speaker, Lisa Nolan. Lisa is the Executive Director of Dress for Success. She leads the organization in its mission to empower women to achieve economic independence and also provide a supporting network for them as they develop tools to learn and to help them as they thrive in the work and in life. Lisa is responsible for programming, for fundraising, and she also serves as an ongoing support for the employed women of Dress for Success. Lisa is also the executive director of Porta Luca, which is a resale boutique which is open to the public, from which all proceeds also benefit Dress for Success. Let's give a warm Rotary Club 17 welcome to Lisa Nolan, Executive Director of Dress for Success.
Thanks, Melinda. Thanks for the nice welcome. It's especially meaningful to be here on the anniversary of Women in Rotary. So we're so grateful that you all have selected Dress for Success as the beneficiary of your clothing donations and volunteer time this morning. And in just a few minutes, hopefully I can share a little bit with you about how those pieces play a role in the larger impact of our mission here. And we're excited to have a Dress for Success alum down here with Kelly too. It's always nice to have a familiar face. So Dress for Success is a global organization. It exists in about 130 affiliates in about 25 countries. So we're lucky here in Cincinnati to be one of the oldest and one of the largest Dress for Success affiliates, which I understand is similar to the Rotary International position and Cincinnati chapter. We've existed here locally since 1999, and we've served about 19,000 women in our time in Cincinnati. And while we're fortunate to have great name recognition, I find that so many people think that Dress for Success is just about the suit for an interview. And I hope to share that we provide so much more than that. So it does, our interaction with clients does typically start with the styling service. We provide the interview and employment attire, but most importantly, we believe is the confidence building that comes with those experiences. And then we also have a full spectrum of workforce development programming, including a career center where women can use our computers and printers as they need, one-on-one career coaching, mock interviews with corporate partners, a group program for job seekers, and then finally, ongoing support for employed women to help reach our ultimate mission of empowering women to achieve economic independence and ultimately be in a position to give back to their community. Let's see, and then to touch on just a couple big things that are happening right now for us. Hopefully you've seen a little bit of buzz lately about Dress for Success. We're moving to Norwood in June. This is our first time relocating outside of downtown, and we're really excited about what's in store for us there. June will also be when we invite clients back into our office for in-person services. And we know, as I'm sure many of you know, that there's a big boom ahead of us. With the disproportionate impact that COVID and the economic downturn has had on women and women of color in particular, we know that there's going to be a big surge in demand for our services. And some women may have a professional background, may have the attire, but have found themselves unemployed and need that extra hand to brush off their resume and get back into the workforce. So you can help me today by sharing the word that we are here for any woman in Greater Cincinnati who could benefit from our services. And if anything I've shared resonates with you and you're interested to learn more, please check out our website at dfscincy.org, where you'll find information about referrals to our services, volunteering, donating clothing, shopping Porta Luca, or financially supporting our Transform Her campaign in the next era of Dress for Success. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lisa, and great to have you here today. And now for the next part of our program, Allie Hubbard, co-chair of Women in Rotary Committee, is going to do some introductions and overview. Allie.
Thank you, President Brett. Well, today I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we signify a huge celebration for women in Rotary. This week, 34 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Rotary clubs could no longer exclude women from membership on the basis of gender. And so I'm pleased to be here with my counterpart, Julie Poyer, as the co-chair of the Women in Rotary Committee. We've been members together here for a couple of years, and even through COVID, we've been able to really pull together the women of our Rotary Club through social events, through service events, and we're very happy to have Lisa here, who, like she said, is the Dress for Success as the beneficiary for our women in Rotary. But more importantly, I'm pleased to introduce our speaker today, Marty Betagole. Marty is currently the CEO of Mike Albert Fleet Solutions, and she's also involved with the Superior Dealership Group. Marty grew up in Cincinnati and is the proud graduate of Walnut Hills High School. She also received her BA in economics from the University of Michigan and then went on to earn her MBA from Xavier University. And if that was not enough, when her youngest child was in kindergarten, she returned to school and earned her JD from the University of Cincinnati. During her career, Marty has served on many different philanthropic boards. She was the member of the founding board of the Goering Center for Family Business. She served on the board of the Greater Cincinnati Chamber of Commerce. She was part of the Cincinnati Board of the Fifth Third Bank and currently serves on the boards of the Greater Cincinnati American Red Cross, the Jewish National Fund, and the Plum Street Temple. In her free time, Marty enjoys golfing, knitting, and walking her dog Baxter. She also loves to travel and is looking forward to getting out and about again to continue her world explorations. And she's an incredibly proud mother to her daughter Megan, who lives locally with her fiance Mike, and to her son Matt, who lives in California with his wife Julia and their daughter Hannah. So with that, please join me in welcoming Marty Betagole.
Thank you, Allie, and thank all of you Rotarians for having me today. And before I start, Lisa, I've been donating to Dress for Success for so long that I know that what you need the most is shoes. That's what they always tell me. So shoes are great, ladies, if you have them. Anyway, Linda Muth invited me to speak to you, your group, because I think, first of all, because my dad has been a member of this Rotary Club since 1964. Yeah, so he's here with us today, so Dad, you want to stand up and be recognized? So I was kind of surprised that with 57 years of seniority, I thought he would be your member with the longest tenure, but you actually have a couple of guys that have been members of this club for even longer than that. And I really think that says something about the loyalty to this club. You all should be really proud of that. Linda thought you may be interested in learning more about our businesses, and I'm really excited to talk to you about that today. But especially because our industry, as anybody who watches television or looks at the media would know, is currently in a state of disruption like we haven't seen for a really long time. But I'd also like to talk to you about a related area that I think could benefit from a little bit more disruption. My family is actually, as Allie alluded to, one more thing I want to say before I started. We're not the only father-daughter team here today, too. Allie's father, Fred, where are you? Yeah, hi. She told me you're here, and your other daughter is here, too. So you trumped us, y'all. Pretty cool. So back to our business. My family's actually in a couple of different businesses that a lot of people think are the same, but they're really only similarity is that they both involve vehicles. The Superior Dealership Group operates 7 car dealerships in the Cincinnati-Dayton area, and Superior is a car dealership. It's a localized B2C business that sells, leases, finances, and services cars. Mike Albert Fleet Solutions is a B2B business that leases and supports fleets of vehicles, and our customers are throughout all of North America. Mike Albert, we also operate a few rental locations in the greater Cincinnati area, and as trucks have become a greater part of our fleet, we have also embarked on a rapidly expanding truck upfitting business. So our businesses all involve vehicles, so they're all part of the transportation business, which is in a state of disruption that's not been seen since the invention of the internal combustion engine. We see vehicle manufacturers building strategies around 4 basic themes: connectivity, autonomous vehicles, vehicle sharing, and electric vehicles. And as the manufacturers labor to establish their future products and business models, our businesses that at their most basic level essentially act as a distribution chain for vehicle manufacturers, we work to predict what services our customers will value in the reconfigured transportation world. I've spent time, as I said before, working in both of our companies, but since January of 2000, when I was named the president of Mike Albert Fleet Solutions, most of my energy has been spent there. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that Mike Albert has added to its portfolio of services to better serve our clients and to position our company to continue its growth as what transports us and how we are transported and how we acquire what we transport continues to evolve. So our first move, if you look on the left-hand side, was we subtly changed our mission statement from delivering transportation solutions to delivering mobility solutions. Last year, we introduced the product line at the top called Albert IQ, and what that is basically an analytics platform that continually monitors the mechanical health of your vehicles, as well as when, where, and how long they're being used, and how they're being driven. The idea is to be able to let you know when you're going to have something go wrong before it goes wrong, so you're not caught on the side of the street. Or to let you know if you have a driver who's driving too fast or driving the car in the middle of the night when they're not supposed to, and we go back and we can let you know how the vehicles are being used. We also introduced subscription services, and so what that is, it's kind of an offshoot of our rental, where a monthly fee covers the vehicle insurance and maintenance expense, and you can periodically swap out the vehicles that you drive for another vehicle in that fleet. We just in the past about 6 weeks, we added some electric vehicles to that fleet because we're finding that everything's turning to electric, and people may want to drive an electric vehicle before they commit to a lease or buying one, and so we're finding the demand for those is growing. And we entered in a strategic partnership with an electric charging station company called Electrata, because that's the infrastructure is what's going to make the difference as we ramp up in usage of electric vehicles. As the transportation industry progresses with its products and strategies, I hope that we're going to see it disrupted in another way as well. While there's been some improvement during my, I hate to say, 40-plus years in the business, there's still very, very little female representation in management in the transportation industry. I told you that Linda first invited me to speak about our businesses, but when I mentioned to her how proud I was of the progress that Mike Albert has made in that area, she invited me to speak to you this week, which is as Allie mentioned, is the well, I'll tell you a little bit. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. I was really surprised to learn that it took a U.S. Supreme Court decision, whose anniversary we commemorate this week, to allow female Rotary membership. So for those of you who don't know, back in 1977, there was this vagabond Rotary Club in California, of course, and they admitted women as members. And so what did the Rotary do? They said, "You're not a club anymore. You can't. We're not going to stand for that." They took away their charter. They terminated the club. And so in 1983, that club actually went to the California courts and sued to allow women membership. And the California court ruled the Rotary had to admit women. But Rotary evidently really didn't want women, even though there was one on the Supreme Court at that time. So they appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, in May of 1987, upheld the decision that the Rotary could not exclude women based on gender. And so you guys should be proud. Today, about 30% of this club is women. How cool. Your next president is a woman. You go, girl. And then Brett shared me that the national president in 2022 is going to be a woman as well. So you've come a long way. I wish I could say the same thing about our industry. International president. Thank you for the international president. Okay, so my family company career began in 1977, the same year that vagabond California Rotary Club admitted women. No one, ladies, I don't know if any of you who are my contemporaries can identify with this, but nobody had ever asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And while I went to Walnut Hills High School, so I always knew I was going to go to college, but I never thought about what was going to happen after that. I suppose I thought I'd meet a guy while in college and become a housewife like my mom, but that didn't happen. And so after graduating from college, I returned to Cincinnati, and I applied for a few jobs. But the one that I wanted the most was traveling the country representing the hiring company at trade shows. What a cool company that sounded like to me. They narrowed the candidate field down to me and one other person, and I will never forget my last interview when the hiring manager looked across the desk at me and asked, "Why should I hire a 22-year-old woman with no responsibilities whatsoever when I can hire a 29-year-old man with a house payment and a wife to support?" I didn't have the confidence to reply that he should hire me because I would do a better job. And I didn't have the perspective to say, "Dude, who do you think people are going to approach at a trade show? A 22-year-old woman or a 29-year-old man?" So I didn't get that job. And I took one as a personnel manager at a manufacturing plant that was paying its workers minimum wage. And so when the revolving door of employment at that place got to me, I had to leave. And about the same time, the controller at Mike Albert called me, and she asked me to join the company as assistant controller. So I said yes. The controller, in red, was Sarah Fox. She was a woman whose intensity and paranoia was sparked the day she overheard colleagues at a previous employer saying that she could not handle a management job because she was a woman. If I'm leading edge, then Sarah was bleeding edge. Unfortunately, she was also a chain smoker. Sometimes she'd have 3 cigarettes going at the same time. You've never seen anything like it. And so, as you can imagine, she lost her life to cancer within a couple of years. So Mike Albert may have been considered bleeding edge with women in management in the 1970s, but now she was gone and there were none. So here's a picture of the Mike Albert workforce in 1982. And you can see that about 20% of our workforce was women, and we didn't have any women in management of the company. We didn't have one in 2020 because, of course, we couldn't get together. But here's a picture of our workforce from 2019. And you can see that now about 45% of our workforce is women. But what I'm prouder of is that we have 7 women on our senior and executive management teams, representing about 33% of that group. A marked improvement, but still not at equal levels. And if you look at the industry in general, you'll see that a greater percentage of the Mike Albert management team is comprised of women than you normally see. Women have ascended into the vehicle company management, but with the exception of Mary Barra, who you all know is the CEO of GM, and she rose through the ranks. She started off there as a co-op in 1980, and she stayed, but most of them leave. There was just an article about this in the Automotive News my dad sent to me in March. I moved into management in the mid-1990s and usually found myself as the only woman at the table. But I got to tell you, it really didn't faze me much. But in retrospect, I think that was probably because I had advantages. My name was on the smokestack. I was always a little bit naive about how the industry viewed women, and I had a father that was willing to give his daughter the same chance that he gave his sons. There were never many, if any, women at the outside events that I attended. I distinctly remember walking into an Acura breakout meeting at a National Auto Dealers Association meeting and feeling different when I encountered an entire room full of suited up men. And so out of there, I happily escaped to the Hyundai breakout meeting, and which generated, that greeted me with a much more assorted group because they were struggling to attract dealers at that time, and so they were like kind of taking anybody. Still not a lot of women, but more diversity than you saw in the Acura room. So this photo, this shows Hyundai's top dealers at a 1998 meeting. I'm in there. I'm to well, as you're looking at it, to the right of the guy with the yellow tie. I mean, there's only 2 people with long hair in the picture. Anyway, sadly, I'd guess that a similar photo taken this year would include the same ratio of women to men. I also remember visiting Kia at their headquarters as a part of a dealer group, where the question that I got asked, and asked the most, and asked very often, was, "When is your brother coming to visit?" I never questioned why I often met dealer sons, but no other dealer daughters at these meetings. I don't remember thinking that this lack of female representation was strange. I never asked myself why it was the way it was. I never wondered why there weren't more women in or ascending to transportation management positions until I began pondering this presentation. So Linda, wherever you are, thank you very much for that. Preparation for today led me down a road of self-discovery and to this conclusion about my industry. And so what did I discover? I discovered that me and my female peers, Trish and everybody else who's here, we really had to pave our own way as we grew up and navigated our paths through our business careers. Title IX, that's the law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in schools, didn't pass until 1972. Its passage sparked the growth of team sports for high school girls, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room who recognizes the value of a team sports background when you're working in the team sport of business. My senior yearbook devoted 28 pages to sports. 2 of those pages sported female faces. Many articles have been written about the value of mentors, and I actually think there's 2 kinds of mentors. There's the ones that you meet along the way who coach you towards career advancement, and then there are the ones that serve as role models, that catch your fancy and inspire you to become like them. So I ask you, what businesswomen did we have to admire growing up in the 1960s and the 1970s? Before you can admire them, you got to find them. And that's a lot easier in today's connected world with internet and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. In the 60s and 70s, we had to rely on less convenient media sources, books, magazines, newspaper, radio, and television. But despite the limited media exposures, I found that I unwittingly found role models. I've always been a reader, and as a teen and then as a young adult, Dad, you can attest to this, I must have read Gone with the Wind a dozen times. Its protagonist, Scarlett O'Hara, is a shattered Southern belle who evolves into what? Essentially, a Southern businesswoman running a mill. One of my favorite television shows, I bet you guys liked it too, was The Big Valley. Its main character, was played by Barbara Stanwyck, was Victoria Barkley, and she was a strong and influential matriarch of the Barkley Ranch, and she ran things. You know, they may have been extremely rare and hard to find, but women business figures were inadvertently capturing my attention. And then there was Gloria Steinem. Gotta tell you, Gloria was always an enigma to me. I just couldn't grasp what she was all about. And I think now that was because she was living life on two tracks. In 1960, she moved to New York to become a journalist, but the obstacles she encountered also transformed her into an activist. When she arrived in New York, she didn't know any women doing what she was doing. She couldn't get an apartment. Of course, she couldn't get equal pay. She became a freelance journalist contributing to women's magazines, and she wanted to write about political matters, but the serious subjects were reserved for men. Then she got a break in 1968 when she was one of the founders of New York Magazine, and it was a small group. She was the only woman, and she gave herself a political column. But when she wrote about the budding underground women's movement, her male colleagues looked at her and said, "What are you doing? You work so hard to be taken seriously. Don't get involved with those crazy women." So on her own, she was okay, but when she was trying to make a difference for other women, the women were crazy. These women must have subliminally inspired me, and that inspiration, combined with my advantages, allowed me to enjoy a senior management role in the transportation industry. But my conclusion about my industry, as you probably can see from the pictures, is that while there's been some progress for women, that progress is woefully insufficient. We need to experience more disruption in traditional management of my industry in tandem with the disruption it is experiencing with its products and strategies, which is why I'm talking about it today. With broader access to information, I feel it's incumbent upon women like me, ladies out there, like you, to speak up and serve as role models and to encourage equality at a faster pace. What does your industry look like? Do you see women in leadership roles? What does your management team look like? Is it diverse? I see gender equality as an evolution rather than a revolution. I see a collaboration for the greater good, not conflicts, not street protests, progress through words, not deeds. My experience has been that the best laid plans begin with diverse teams that have diverse perspectives and strengths. If you strive for gender equality of substance, it really should turbocharge your company's performance. And you don't just have to take my word for that. A couple of years ago, the marketing firm McCann Group did some research and discovered that when women occupied 30% of management positions, a company's profitability actually increased by 15%. And that led to this ad that was part of the ad campaign, an ad campaign they were doing for. It happens to be a makeup company, but the study was on all kinds of companies. So it can be good for your business as well. So, all of you women here today, I encourage you to be heard. Even if your industry has more gender equality than mine, make yourself visible as a mentor and a role model. I encourage all of you, women and men, to proactively consider capable women for management positions. Mentor them, inspire them, and then take it a step further. Sponsor them, not just by advising, but by advocating for them. Your advocacy can work in two ways. Not only can it get the woman noticed, but your support can provide the confidence she may need to pursue that next step. When recently asked what happens now with respect to women's equality, this was asked of Gloria Steinem, and she replied, "Those of us who are older can bring hope because we remember when it was worse. And those of us who are younger can bring anger, which is precious because they know it should be better. It's up to all of us. When we tap into shared experience, the world cracks open." My generation of women cracked open opportunity for women in business management. With some luck and a lot of collaboration, we'll augment the flow through that crack until we realize true gender equality, which I think will be better for everybody. So thank you very much, everybody. That's all I've got to say. If you have any questions on our company or whatever, I'll be happy to
Marty, thank you so much. And don't go away, because I didn't warn you about this, but our club likes to ask questions.
Okay.
So if you're willing to do some questions and answers, people in the room could ask some questions. People on Zoom, if you have a question, text my cell phone.
I'll be happy to, but as I told Brett before, you get what you paid for, so. So. Yes.
Name 2 or 3 women contemporaries who inspire you today.
Wow. You know, I've got to tell you, I never really differentiated, but I'll tell you this, okay? So the one thing that I left out of here that's kind of interesting, the person, there's a television character that I didn't mention that everybody sees as the pioneer woman in business on television. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? You got it, Mary Tyler Moore. So Mary Tyler Moore had, Lou Grant was her boss, and Lou Grant got his own spin-off, and he had Mrs. Pynchon, and Mrs. Pynchon was actually, I think, based on Katharine Graham, who got the Washington Post when her husband passed away. And I said, that's what I want to be. I want to be Mrs. Pynchon. She was like the owner of the paper, and she would come in and she would give Lou, he ran everything, but she gave him pieces of advice. And so we have a really capable man running Mike Albert right now, and so I've kind of become Mrs. Pynchon. So, and I'm happy about that. So I guess that's the best way to say that. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the electric vehicles in the Mike Albert portfolio? Is it large distribution vehicles? Also, tell us about it. I'm electric vehicles.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to repeat the question. The question is, can I tell you about electric vehicles in the Mike Albert fleet? Well, we have been involved with them, I say, for probably 8 years, but it's still a matter of disruption. It's still evolving. And there's 2 big issues right now. One is the infrastructure, the charging stations, but I think we're going to, when we see those becoming more available, I think we're going to see a lot more acceptance of the electric. And attached to that is the battery capacity. They're expanding, but I think about 400 miles, Dad? I think that's the biggest range that you have right now. So for fleets, we have a specialist on our staff that specializes in electric vehicles. He does a lot more in California than he does locally, but we're seeing municipalities getting more interested in those. So right now, primarily what we have are Teslas. We entered into a relationship with Tesla when nobody else would. Now that other people do, we don't have such a good relationship with them. But some companies are, but not a lot, have taken electric vehicles into their fleets. We're pushing it, and we're seeing more and more interest, but not adoption at this point, I would say. Oh, I'm all over it. It's the way of the future. But it's going to cause some issues, too.
I have a question kind of from left field from a member, from Tim Hirschner. Did you ever have contact with Marge Schott?
Marge Schott was always so nice to me. She was always, she was another, I'm thinking about, when I was more involved with the dealerships, I knew her, and she was always nice to me. So yes, I did. Trish?
So, in addition to the gender challenges in your industry, what are the biggest challenges in your industry right now on the business side?
Well, at this particular minute, the problem is supply chain. The cars are not available, and it's difficult to get vehicles, and the reason it's difficult is because of microchips and foam in the seats. And so, I'll tell you, what keeps me up at night right now, we try to get our clients to order their vehicles because, first of all, we like to plan, and second of all, if you have a fleet of more than 15 and you order them, you can get thousands of dollars off of the price if you do it that way. But because of COVID, people didn't know what was going to happen, so they didn't order their vehicles. Some did, but most didn't. And so now people are ordering vehicles, and at the same time, the manufacturers are canceling our orders. When we can't get a vehicle by ordering, we have to search for it. And normally in September is or August, or when we're looking for the most, and we would be searching for 38 to 40 vehicles. I think we're looking for 430 right now. So that's the biggest issue right now. Yes?
Hi, I'm with Girl Scouts, and so everything that you said is just so near and dear to my heart. And I love what you said about mentoring. Two kinds of mentors, the kind that brings someone along, and then the other kind that has a shining example of someone for a girl to look up to. I'm just wondering, what do you think of girls who are ambitious, say middle school, high school, elementary school, but not yet in the workforce? How do you recommend that they find women to mentor?
So the question is, how do women, comes from what is your position with Girl Scouts? The development director of Girl Scouts, and she said, how do you find women to mentor these girls? I think there's a lot of different ways. First of all, as I mentioned, there's more of us. There's still not enough of us, but there's more of us. And so if they just watch on television, if they look at the iPad, which is what they're probably doing more, they're going to find people. There's also programs. So Trish is here because she got me on the Red Cross board when she was the head of the Red Cross, and they have a wonderful program. This is the one I'm aware of, first of all, a leadership development program where I don't understand why more people don't go to this. It's such a wonderful gift, but there's programs like that people can get involved in. I think it's just a matter of Googling it at this point in time to find these people. So, and if I can be of any, I would love, if you want me to talk to them, I'd love to talk to them, so.
I have a comment from Stephanie Bird, a comment and a question.
Oh, no.
She says, hi, Marty.
Hi, Stephanie.
I enjoyed hearing your story. Thank you for being a trailblazer in the industry. Is the pipeline in place for continuing the trend toward more women in the field?
Everybody heard the question. Is there more women, a pipeline for more women in the field? I can only speak to Mike Albert, and there is. I would say in the rest of my impression is that the rest of the industry doesn't have the kind of pipeline we do. But and I've tried to do that, so hopefully it's helped. Like I have a bunch of cards. I'm sure you've seen this before. It says, she thought she could, so she did. And so I can think of two women who are now on our senior management team. When they would do something, I tried to compliment people. I tried to ask them what they would do next, or what skills they need in order to take the next step. But if they did something outstanding, I would write them a note on that. And I did that with two of these women. And so I hope that that's helping build our pipeline. But Stephanie, I don't think it looks that good at other companies. Yes?
Thank you for your presentation. Could you comment on the status of pay equality?
The question is, can I comment on pay equality? No. I mean, I know my universe. I don't have what I read is that there is not pay equality, but it's just from what I read. It's not from my direct experience. Anybody else?
Well, thank you so much, Marty.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. Really, really appreciate it. And Marty, as you know, and as your dad knows very well, one of the things that Rotary has done internationally is fight disease. And in appreciation for you being our keynote speaker today, we're going to make a donation to the Rotary International End Polio Now campaign in your honor. So thank you very much. And also with appreciation to you and also to you, Lisa, for the work you're doing to open opportunities for people in our community. Our theme in this Rotary year is that Rotary opens opportunities, and that's what we try to do as Rotarians, is to open up opportunities to improve lives. That's what you do in business with many different opportunities, as well as your community service on many boards and organizations. And Lisa, you gave a great presentation about Dress for Success and the great work that it is doing and you are doing as an organization. So I have a Rotary Opens Opportunities pin for each of you to recognize the work you're doing. So just a reminder, we have next Thursday, Dean Regas will be joining us from the Cincinnati Observatory for a great presentation. And I want to wish everybody a good weekend in the meantime. Meeting adjourned.